together that 4th of July day. That's when the land you're standing on became the U.S. of A. United we will stand, but divided we fall. One nation under God says it all. Men are created equal, words written in by hand. They all stand to fight when a cry for freedom rings. Freedom isn't free, it comes with a cost. One nation under God says it all. One nation under God says it all.
Good evening and welcome to ITW Radio. It is 10:30, not 10:30 at night, but 10:30 the date of 2018. You guys, when and gals, when you're out tomorrow night and tonight, watch out for the trick-or-treaters and keep those kids safe. Speaking of kids, tonight we have Miss Linda Lou Osborne. Hello, Miss Osborne. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, if I was any better, I'd be you, I guess. So you're running for school board against Bud McInnes.
Yes, I am. District 4.
District 4. Okay, there's been a lot of stuff going on with the school board over the years that I don't know if you've listened to the shows or read, but I don't quite agree with it, and you're going to make things different, I hope.
Well, I hope so. That was one reason for running.
So you're running for District 4?
Yes, but you vote countywide.
Okay. So when they go in to vote, you guys need to remember, Linda Lou Osborne. This is who I'm endorsing. This is who you need to vote for. And for you guys that say I'm a Republican, this is a Democrat and I'm voting for her, okay? So I believe in her policies and stuff, and I have had a chance to review some of your stuff over the last few days. And between you and Bud McInnes, there's no way I would vote for him. I would take you over him because of your policies and stuff. One of the big questions we always have is with the buses in our system. The kids are always overcrowded, and I'm not blaming the school board because I see that for the last couple of years they've had signs up. What do you see that will straighten that out?
Well, just recently at the October 16th school board meeting, Thomas Bowling, who's head of operations, stated that they had purchased new buses and that they were also going to be a little bit lenient on the qualifications, that you were no longer going to be required to have a high school diploma. So hopefully that will alleviate some of the problem. I don't know, but the requirement was that you had to have a high school or GED before you could be employed. So with the new buses and hopefully with that changing a little bit as far as the hiring practices.
Yeah, now, so before they could do it with a GED or without a GED?
No, they can have a GED as well as a high school diploma.
Okay. And hopefully we get some people that's going to come in and fill those spots, because I know it's been a problem. And like I say, I'm not blaming the school board because I've sent a bunch of people over, but they just weren't qualified. Some of them, you know, we live in the poorest county in the state for, 6 years now. But there's, not everybody has a chance to get a GED. A lot of people have to quit, to support their families and stuff. So I think that'll be a good move. What are some of the other problems you see with the school system that you would be able to, straighten out?
Well, I'm a big proponent of parental involvement. I just find that if you have your parents and community agencies and organizations involved in the school, I think that's going to promote attendance. I think we can address some of the issues as the poverty and children's hunger. And I think that if you have a place where you can go to and get some of the services that sometimes you have to drive all the way to Palaca to get, that it would be a benefit not only to the school but to the children and the parents and the community. So I would really like to see a community school. We'd start with one. You can't do the whole entire district at one time, but one community school at a time.
Okay. Is there any other problems that you see right now that you would straighten out? Or
Well, the school board sets policies and procedures, and so sometimes it's difficult to change something immediately because the superintendent has the day-to-day operational responsibility. I think that our teachers need raises.
Oh, you're going to get a lot of votes there.
Well, the 2018-19 beginning teacher pay says it's $36,251. That's going to be that's difficult to raise a family, and or if you're a single person, paying for rent, paying for car payment, electricity, food. So I am a big proponent of having teachers' salaries higher. They do get bonuses throughout the school year. Will all depend on your evaluation, but that's not in your base pay. So I think that an increase in teacher salary is big on the agenda.
Right. Oh, there's Greg. He's on in a little bit. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. As far as the teachers, I think they're overworked and underpaid. I mean, some of the teachers that I know. Sean Delaney is one, and Steve Cummings. I know both of those guys. And I've seen Sean up at the high school. I mean, he's there all the time. I've seen him in the football programs, and I'm not just singling him out. I'm just using him as an example.
Right.
I've seen Sean up there before, after school with the football players, and we were able to get some computers donated a few years ago to the football team and get them up. But I've seen those teachers step up. Him and Pooh Bear. I don't know if you know who Coach Pooh Bear is.
He graduated from Crescent City High School, didn't he?
Correct.
Okay.
And then he went to play, for the Bears or something. He's back coaching football there now.
Right.
But I've seen those guys actually stay up there and watch the GPA go from 1.5 to almost 3.0 or 3.2 is what it was. So it made a big difference with them staying up there. But, they're taking time away from their families. And like you said, they don't get enough pay to warrant them being there, but they're such good people.
Well, it's in their heart. They are wanting their students to be prepared as well as have passing grades. And even though some of them may get a supplement for football coach and assistant coaches, but the time and energy that they put in and the hours, it can't compensate for everything. The dedication is there whether they get paid or not.
Gary had wrote in that teachers aren't the only ones that are there. What about the rest of the people that are involved?
Well, okay, you are correct. We have, at some positions in our classified salary schedule, it's $8.47 an hour. That is just outrageous. There's no one that can live on $8.47 an hour, and some of the jobs are only 10 months. So if you're going to give teachers a raise, I think it should be across the board. It may be a hard time to find money, but there's money someplace that the parents, that the teachers and the paraprofessionals and your classified salary schedule people, custodians, your lunchroom staff, your food service, your secretaries. It's just, there's got to be money, and there should be a way to find it.
Yeah, I would not want to be a custodian in any of these schools. I've seen some of these kids. My kids went to the schools, and they have a mess to clean up between the lunchrooms, the bathrooms, the hallways.
Right.
Yeah, everything, especially after football games and stuff. I see the same guys out there, and we've had a couple. What was his name? He went on to be on the school board for a while. Drawing a blank.
Me too.
I can't remember his name. He used to stripe the football fields of a Crescent City High School. He used to do the ground maintenance, and then he went on to be a county official later on. And I cannot remember his name right now.
I'm drawing a blank also. So.
Yeah, somebody wrote in when you said about giving the other people. Yeah, they're talking about there's a shortage. Ashley said there's a huge shortage of bus drivers.
Oh, yes.
Which we just covered that and how they're going to make that, Ashley. They're going to take in, they've dropped some of the standards, the qualifications that they have to bring in, and they're making it easier for people to drive. And they've also purchased new buses, you said, as well.
They are in the process of purchasing new buses. I don't know how many. I did not hear that number, but Thomas Bowling, who's operations director, made that statement at the October 16th school board meeting. So he was the one that had said also that they were dropping the requirements for a high school diploma.
Now, let me ask you a question, because somebody had put this up and the screen's scrolling faster than I can read
Okay.
them. But somebody had said what about the hours? Is that ever going to go back to what it used to be with the kids, or should we keep it the
Talking
way?
about the school starting times?
Correct.
I don't foresee that changing. I know a lot of people were upset that the elementary schools started early and then the high schools were starting a little bit later. I haven't heard anything, and as far as changing those hours back, but they always say that the research says that high school students do much better if they start later. So that would have to be something that would be school board, as well as approval from, I guess, Tallahassee and all of the powers that are involved as far as changing the hours back.
Well, I know my son and them love it because he gets to stay and play Xbox later. There was somebody who wrote in about, what do you think about the cursive writing and bringing that back into the schools and their books? Wait, what else did they say? And the books, bringing back books instead of computers and stuff.
Well, the cursive writing, it sort of is something that has been in the past many years. I'm not sure why they don't think cursive writing is an important part of the education and the curriculum, but it is not one of those things that's taught anymore. As far as textbooks, I think the reasoning behind doing the computers and making sure that everybody's up to date is that sometimes the textbooks are outdated. And so the technology is there as far as being able to go online and find all kinds of information. And so it sometimes makes it easier to have a textbook because the teachers are also having to scramble and or make sure that they have a lesson plan that is on today's events. And so the textbook issue has sort of been also in the back burner for several years, but most of it is online and computer.
Well, that I can understand because,
Correct.
With like the reason we don't do print anymore on our newspaper, and the reason we have a radio show and we don't use, standard AM, FM anymore is because everything is done off of tablets. Cell phones, 90% of the people that listen to our show and stuff is on cell phones. So I can see the reasoning there. Somebody had written in and asked about, what do you think about what do you think about the new system with having I think what they're trying to say is with having the Guardian program.
Well, the Guardian program, was a product of the Parkland shootings, and the districts had several choices, and one choice was to put resource officers in all the schools, and that was probably not affordable because of the cost. And then the Guardian program was voted in by the school board. It can always go under review, and so if there needs to be a change in that program, and then it needs to be looked at. And there are certain stipulations, though, as far as the Guardian program, as to who can participate, and we're up and running. Then the state only gave them like $750,000 to implement the Guardian program, along with some mental health counselors. So it's sort of I guess we're going to have to wait and see how it works. Hopefully, there's no reason to have to do anything as far as the safety of our schools. And we want all of our children to be safe, and hopefully that we can also implement some more secure entrances, and also as the gated sections of the school. Sometimes that's a vulnerable area because when the buses go in and out and the students go in and out, the gates are open. And so I think sometimes we need to rely on our experts as far as at the district. We have one person who is in charge of rekeying all the schools, making sure that there are extra keys that are not out there. So that's another aspect of making sure that the school is secure along with the Guardian program. There's a stipulation that the Guardian program, if you're a classroom teacher, you cannot participate as a guardian. Some of the others are administrators, coaches, if they're not classroom teachers, ROTC instructors, and then any retired policemen and or military.
Okay. So what different, somebody's writing in, what different programs would you like to see brought into the school system that we don't have now? And I know who this is, and they're wanting like acting stuff. Because some of the stuff that we have at, Placa High, they have some drama classes and stuff where Crescent City doesn't have that yet, or Interlochen.
Well, I think the arts, whether it's theater, drama, classical music, or just music period, those are some of the areas that we sort of are lacking. And, not every school is comparable. Palaca High, yes, has had a theater program or drama program for years, and they've been very successful. And I think that we need to look at some of the cultural enrichment programs that, for instance, my grandson rather, started taking guitar, and he's a junior in Tallahassee. He started taking guitar at the 8th grade. To my knowledge, very, very few, I don't think there's any classes in guitar that are offered at every school. So, and now, like I said, he placed 6th chair in the national high school competition. So
He's still playing guitar?
Yes, and he's doing
for him.
fantastic. So I would think that the liberal arts and some of the cultural enrichment programs should be implemented.
Yeah,
Of course, that also costs money.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, a lot of the local stuff would. Let's see. I got something getting handed to me here. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna let you read this. This is what somebody wrote in, so I'll let you look at that and read it. It's talking about integrity and
Innovation and experience. In short, what is a brief of each, and what does getting this position mean to you? Okay, I have spent 44 years of my life in the education field. I have spent 24 of my recent years with Putnam County Schools. And I feel like I am a trustworthy person. I would like to see some different aspects of different programs. For instance, we just talked about some of the cultural enrichment programs. I think sometimes too much emphasis is put on academic achievement, but you also have to have a well-rounded student. And venturing out into other areas, I think makes a person a more well-rounded. Let me see, the integrity, innovation, and experience. Like I said, my 24 years with Putnam County, I was the program specialist or coordinator for 2 or 3 different federal programs, and I saw different aspects of different students and the diverse population that we have here in Putnam County. So I think that being on the school board and looking, sort of thinking outside the box, sometimes you have to have a person that is willing to sort of reach out and say, hey, we haven't tried this, I think we need to do this.
So you've been around for a while then on the school boards.
I've been around
school
for
board,
the
the school system.
Right. I did 15 years. I was a classroom teacher in Alachua County, and then I had 5 years with the Florida Department of Education in a satellite office where we oversaw different grants and grant applications for 20 school districts. So I think I have a well-rounded experience in the education field.
Okay, well, good. That's good because you know the grant systems. You know, what grades did you teach?
I was high school when I first started at Buchholz High School, 9 and 10th grade, and then I went to Shell Elementary School where I taught second, third, and fourth.
Oh God, you've been through the war then. You've been through the battle
So
zone.
I've been through the battle
You've
zone,
had the little
correct.
ones and the big ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. God love you, because I couldn't have done it. I mean, I love kids and everything, but I don't think I could ever teach school. That's got to be one of the hardest jobs in the world.
Well, my last 24 years, I was not in the classroom. Like I said, I did the coordination for federal programs, and we had after-school programs, we had summer school, we had adult ed programs. Our office that was in the Crescent City area was open from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday.
So you got the in and outs on how to get the grants to come into Putnam County, where
Putnam County is doing quite well as far as getting grants. I think that we have had many opportunities of different grants. You have your Just for Graduates, you have Title IV, you have Title I, which is a huge federal program for reading. The district gets around $5 million in that grant.
yeah, no, I know Rick Sorensen. I've never had anything bad to say about him. He kind of got thrown into a mess. Well, he didn't get thrown into it. He asked for it. He voted, he campaigned for it. He spent money to get in, and I have seen him making a big difference in it.
Dr. Sorensen is working quite hard as far as Putnam County Schools is concerned.
Yeah, and Miss Gilliard, I mean, I love that woman to death. I've never even met her before. The other thing that I was going to ask you that somebody had written in about is the RO or the RCMA program, the Head Start, that's getting shut down in Pomona Park.
Well, I called as many people as I could because I used to know Barbara Mainster, who actually started the RCMA program. And I haven't had a definitive answer as to why, other than funding. So if you'll give me a little more time, I'll see if I have any other contacts that I could possibly find out. I do have a Facebook account as far as my campaign is concerned, and so give me a day or two and I'll see what I can do as far as finding out why RCMA is closing in the Pomona Park area.
Yeah, I actually have them coming on. When are they coming in, Marie?
Oh, that's good.
On Friday? Yeah, they're coming in Friday, and then I've gotten contacted by, I think, all 60 parents. Their kids go there. And that's a program that's been open since, I think she said 57 years.
I started to say it's been there forever.
Yeah, and then for some reason they, out of St. Augustine, Palaca, they weren't even on the list, and then they just came to them the other day and told them that their doors are going to be shutting
That's going to be June?
June 1st.
Yeah, of
The doors will be
2019.
shutting. Yeah, and they said it was because of funding. But, I mean, it's a small town and stuff like that. Of course, that doesn't have anything to do with the school board.
No, it's a total different program.
One of the questions that I was asked is that some of the daycare centers around the county, they were told that they're no longer going to transport the kids from the schools to the daycare centers anymore.
Well, I think they did change the policy. They had a policy last year that they were not going to pick up and drop off the students at the daycares. But I witnessed in the Crescent City area at Future Little Learners Daycare that I watched them drop the kids off about 3 weeks ago. So I don't know if the policy is if you're within 2 miles of the school or exactly what, but I have seen them drop the students off. So if they dropped them off, you would think that they would have picked them up in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that they start, doing something like that. Is there any way that, what are your thoughts on that? Should they do it? Should they not do it? Or
Well, parents are working, and to get a child to daycare, you've got to make some kind of arrangements, and I personally don't see why they cannot be picked up and dropped off.
Yeah,
I would advocate for that.
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on that, myself, because with my kids, I've had to go out, and pick them up and take them and drop them off, or had to in the past. But my kids are pretty much all grown now. My son finishes up high school this year. But with the way the shortage is on the bus drivers and everything else right now, I don't think a lot of people see that it's pretty difficult. If we're a big major metropolitan area and we had extra bus drivers and stuff, it'd be a lot easier. But I don't think a lot of people see that, hey, we just don't have the bus drivers.
Well, we don't, but if the students are in school, and if they pick them up in the morning, whether it was from home, and then they pick them up or drop them off in the afternoon, whether it's home or daycare, waiting on parents to come home, if you drive right by that daycare, I don't see why they could not utilize that service.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of parents will be happy to hear you say that because, you know, it's one of the biggest questions I get is my kids are in daycare and now the buses don't drop them off. It was Stepping Stones up in Crescent City that contacted me. Unfortunately, they just had to shut down for lack of funding up there.
Oh.
So that's 2 daycares.
Two daycares that are
that's
gonna be
closing
out.
up.
Yeah.
So what do you want to tell people about them coming out and voting for you on Tuesday?
Well, I am retired, so I can devote as much time as necessary. I am a civic-minded person, and I will be out and about in the community. I hope I would visit the schools. I would make sure that I get to talk to parents. There's always a protocol to do as far as, any complaints. You could always come to board members, but then the board member should not really give you any answers to those questions, but pass it on to the superintendent or the people that can give you the correct answers. But I think having an open mind and willing to talk to everybody is one of my selling points. I will devote my time and energy. It's just not a 2-meeting month job. It's going to be a day-to-day job. So I'm willing to put forth that time and energy and make sure that I am as visible as I possibly can be.
Okay. And I'm not going to get into this tonight, but I know that you have oh, wait, we got another question coming in before I let you out. Of school bullying and school board not handling. Would she try to improve that? There's been we've gotten a lot of calls where kids that are getting bullied as far as in the schools and on the buses and stuff.
Well, the school board has a policy on bullying, and I would hope that any incident that occurs, whether it's on the bus or whether it's in the school, that it's reported and it is addressed accordingly, because it is a hot topic, and some students will not speak up, and they continue to be bullied, and there has to be a policy enforced and uniformly, because sometimes one school will do something and another school does a totally different punishment and or intervention. So you have to be consistent, and I think you have to go by the school board policy and make sure that you're implementing and reporting any incidents that happen.
Well, that's exactly it. One of the ladies I can see she's on, for you guys that don't know, I can see everybody that's online. And one of the people that's on line right now, her son had gotten his head shoved into the toilet. Now, this is before Rick Surrency came in and everything. And it was at an elementary school. And they told the kid to drink out of the urinal and pretty much forced his head down in there. Well, it was taken to the school board, to our past superintendent, and then nothing was ever done about it. Where if a kid assaults another kid, according to the bylaws and stuff and the laws in the school board code, the police are supposed to be called. And one of the questions it has in there, if a student does something like that, should the police be called or should it be handled?
Well, I'm not going to say that you immediately call the police. I think that all of the parties involved, whether it's the child that's being bullied and then the person that is bullying, and all parents, the parents of both students should be brought in, as well as administrators, and come up with some kind of intervention. And then if it continues, then it should be addressed in a different manner. And if the police have to be called in, then that's something that will have to be dealt with.
Now, the child that did this was a multiple offender. I mean, he had been bullying kids forever on the bus, everything else. And then the kids that are problem kids like that, what do you see as a solution for them? I mean, because a lot of them, and it still happens now. I don't know that for a fact because I have the parents. I mean, anything goes on in Putnam County, my phone is blowing up. But a kid that's a problem child like that, what kind of solution do you see them? I know you said in the beginning that about mental health
And
counseling
mental
and
health
stuff.
counselors, right? They were hired as part of the Guardian program, so they're supposed to be out and about in all of the schools, and they're supposed to be notified of any such incidences that happen like that. And so it's as a parent, make sure that you're vocal, and if you have issues, just don't let them go by the wayside. Be an advocate for your child if your child is one of the children being bullied. They also have a detention, which is solution center for those who are not behaving, and so the guidance counselors and the administrators and the staff have to work together, and they should not let this continue.
She agrees with you, by the way. But anyways, I know you have stuff to get to. You've got my vote on Tuesday night coming up. It's 1 week from today, and hopefully in 7-8 more days we'll see you in office.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
You guys, vote for Miss Osborne when you go in. It's Linda Lou Osborne. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Miss Osborne, for coming in. You have a great evening.
Well, thank you.
And we'll see you when you get in office.
Okay.
I'll be hounding you.
All right.
You want to make sure as soon as we get Greg on here, if you can, just walk her around, because I know the light went out outside. I don't want her to trip.
Well,
I want to see her in office, not in hospital.
Yeah, I'm not in the hospital.
Get her in office, not the hospital.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Greg.
Different.
hey,
That's Greg Williams.
how are you?
I had over thousands of people clapping for you there.
Oh, great.
How are you
Here,
doing
let me-
tonight?
Let me get this squared away a little bit. Go ahead. There we go. Let me get my Barney Fife up there. Okay, very good. Go ahead.
Okay, we're just getting Miss Osborne taken care of
Get
here.
out of here.
They've got to drop the screen and stuff.
Have a good one, okay.
So we got a busy, stinking week going on, Greg.
Yeah, it's getting that time of year. Hey,
It's-
how about CNN? Boy, do they suck.
Yeah, I got to get Chris back in here. I got an echo feed coming in off my. I'm not sure. Your radio's not on, is it? Chris, we got an echo going on somewhere. There we go. And the lights are off now. Cool. I'm not going to start singing Barry White to you either, by the way. It was just 1 second. See, you catching the ear echo? I think it's because her mic's on.
No, that's because, how to explain it quick and easy.
Okay, we'll just deal with it. But can
Your
you?
signal is coming out of his computer, and his mic is picking up that signal.
Oh, okay. Can
That's
you,
why it sounds garbled. Discord is trying to mask it.
okay. Can you kill this mic over here? This one over here is making a lot of noise. There we go. That was our echo. Cool.
That's probably your reverb or something.
CNN. You asked me what I thought about them. Oh God, are you kidding me? I don't want to get into CNN.
Man, it's just terrible. You know, Bernard Shaw, that guy was a great reporter, and that network used to be a great news network. But man, they've fallen off the turnip truck. I guess they got corrupted by the DNC. I think CNN is corrupt. They're probably in bed with Fusion. The way they've been going after Trump, maybe they're in bed with Fusion. They're probably part of the reason they're trying to set up the guy. You could see the whole story develop, how they would misrepresent each meeting he'd have in the transition period. I mean, CNN is, they're worse than Pravda used to be for the Communist Party. I mean, and CNN is hacking away for the DNC, and as all the mainstream media does. That's the fake news problem we got in the country. It's got to be solved.
Oh, come on, man.
You know, we're not there yet.
Come on, man. I thought you liked Morning Joe.
Morning Joe. God, you know, I used to watch that when Obama was president, you know, and a little bit, you know, but They have lost their marbles. You know, I mean, when they first started, I think they were both married to different women, and then both married to different people. And then I guess they fell in love with each other on the air and all that stuff. And then they didn't get invited to the Trump reception or something. I don't know. And they've been nasty ever since. The misrepresentation that you see on that show is unbelievable. It's that they do the same thing on that network that CNN does. They like to bring discredited people like Clapper and Brennan and all the crooked Obama people, and that's really why Hillary lost. I mean, you can say what you want, but the corruption factor with the DNC and Hillary and that lady from Miami, Schwartzner, or whatever her name is, and then, and having apparently everybody had access to the DNC's computer, but the people that were voting Democrat,
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I just hope the country wakes up. Hey, how about this Blexit thing? That's a pretty powerful thing going on.
Yeah.
There's a walk away movement, and now I hear that there's a thing called Blexit, which is blacks exiting the Democratic Party. And I think it's growing. It's a phenomenal thing going on.
Yeah, I saw that. I've got a few friends that are black, quite a few, and they have all been saying the same thing. They're pulling out of the Democratic Party. And I ask them why, and they're like, they're sick of it. And, I think what it is that people can look at the different news stations and say, well, these people are full of crap, because it just doesn't make sense. With the whole thing, even right now with, Rosenstein and Strzok and Page and Comey and all this crap, and now
I just can't believe it.
they still got.
They're still in power. It's unbelievable. They still are in power. And, Rosenstein and Sessions have been a disaster.
Well, they're still going after, this fake dossier stuff. It's still, it was proven fake a while back. So why in the hell are they still worried about going after Trump?
Democrats, I know. And, I was reading about a federal judge being so offended that that lady Black or Rice, somebody was involved up to her neck, and she was allowed to be a lawyer and sit in, and then they gave her immunity, and they're like, why are you giving all the criminal players immunity? Why, and then they want to make up crime on Trump. It's amazing.
Well, it's like, what's the gal's name that's with the Sharia law and all the stuff, And
I don't know, but she's an idiot. I've seen her on TV. She's dumb.
Yeah, and they're sitting there.
What they call low IQ people. Trump would refer to as low IQ.
Yeah, and they're sitting there giving, kissing her butt and everything, and giving her all kinds of awards and stuff. When she's for Sharia law, she's known and tied to terrorist. I can't even talk now. Terrorist organizations.
All that, they're all involved in it. It's just terrible.
If Trump would have done that, all hell would have broke loose. So let me ask you about these people coming up. Have you seen the lines that are headed to the United States from El Salvador?
I mean, it's Trump's fault. The economy's going so good. The country's great again. Who wouldn't want to live here? But unfortunately, we can't let everybody come in. One thing I did notice is when they were doing their interviews, just about everyone said they were coming to get a better economic opportunity. And, I would like to see Central America made great. It's never been great. I'd like to see them make it great. I mean, there's lots of problems in those little small Central American countries. And you got socialists everywhere trying to destroy the countries. I mean, it is what it is. Everybody knows that socialism fails just about everywhere it's tried. The most successful socialist country in the world was Sweden, but yet they're moving towards capitalism because ultimately, like Margaret Thatcher used to say, the problem with socialism is you end up running out of other people's money to spend. So it is what it is. We continue to suffer from misinformation in this country, perpetrated by the mainstream media. It's amazing. But the funny thing is Trump keeps on going, and the people see through it. I think we're going to have a red wave.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about Trump sending all these military down to the border? I mean, you got so it's 4,500, 5,000.
The issue, and they haven't. Okay, obviously the Democrats want illegals to vote, They want to flood California with 10 million illegals and then say, hey, we need a bunch more House of Representative members because we got all these illegals. Frankly, I think that illegals shouldn't be part of the census calculation. Make the census calculation American citizens. Okay, I just don't think you can just have a bunch of uneducated illegals and give them the right to vote. People that don't even speak the language, they want to give them a right to vote. The Democrats are so screwed up, they don't want you to be able to show a doggone driver's license or a picture ID when you have to have an ID for any other transaction in the world, almost in America. You can't write a check without a picture ID. You can't go to Publix and walk out with some food without writing a check without a picture ID. You got to have a picture ID just about anywhere, and they're not that hard to come by. But for them to say, oh, that's discriminating against people to vote. Well, all they want is illegals and dead people to vote in these red states, not the red states, the blue states, these liberal icon states like California, and Illinois, and New York. You know, I think there's like 3.5 or 4 million illegals registered to vote. 3 million illegals registered to vote in California alone, and many of them do vote. We had a former president that was encouraging people to break federal law. This is the same guy that took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and he's out there before the election last year, a week before the election, on Fusion, having a big interview, encouraging illegals to vote for him and assuring them that they wouldn't be prosecuted. Then Trump tries to clean it up, and then they shut him down. They won't even provide information. It's unbelievable what goes on in these highly regulatory, very liberal political states that eventually are going to blow up. California is unsustainable under Jerry Brown's policies. And, you know, if they want to vote for this Democrat, that country, that state's going to go bankrupt. I don't see how, and I don't think American citizens, I don't think we should supplement all their crazy ideas over there.
Yeah. Now, this is something that, you know, I hear people, oh, yeah, and I'm watching on CNN and other networks and stuff, because I watch them all. And I base my thing on fact, not on fiction, but on fact and what I'm seeing from different ones. Now, one of the things that I've noticed since this whole thing started, and this whole caravan is supposed to take them a couple of months, okay? If you watch on some of the networks, you'll see these people coming up, and there's trucks full of food, full of water, and everything else. There's like checkpoints for them. Who in the hell's financing this stuff? I mean, I've got my thoughts and conspiracy theories on it and speculation, but if you look, how in the hell, Greg,
There's liberal groups that are funded by a few wealthy liberal people, okay? We've all heard the name Soros, and I'm sure where there's smoke, there's fire there. They've been down in that part of the country. There was a lot of planning that went into that. But you know what's like everything the Democrats do, it's blowing up on them.
Well, how do you...
the Democrats would think that we need 10 million illegals, you know, and heck, as a matter of fact, under Obama, not only do we want 10 million illegals, let's bring them all in from the Middle East where they have no value system that's even compatible with us. I mean, that was what was so strange. And then let's settle them all throughout this country and not tell anybody where they are. And now you have little enclaves. I think Wisconsin's probably the worst example, or Minnesota, where entire communities are now completely Muslim and trying to, you know, do their little Sharia law. I don't know if you saw the story, but the European court just this last week, when an Austrian woman who made the comment that Muhammad was in with a 6 or a 9-year-old girl, you know, and, you know, the whole pedophile thing. Well, you know, back in the day, they were, I don't know, they were maybe, we know that Muhammad had a lot of slaves, and people said that he was a pedophile. He may have been. But guess what? They prosecuted her for saying that. She sues in that European court system, which we're not under, thank the Lord. They said, hey, you can't have free speech when you're talking about Islam. You can rip Christianity, you can rip the Jews, you can rip any other religion, but you can't say anything bad about Islam, or you're going to go to jail, or it's a criminal offense. Now, that tells me that the Islamization of Europe is almost complete. I have no desire to go to Europe at this point until they get it a little bit under control. I want to go to the Middle East, I go to the Middle East. Why do I want to go to Europe and be treated like I'm in the Middle East? You know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's the Middle East and there's Europe. You know, and what's going on in Germany is terrible.
But you got all these groups, and this is what I can't figure out. If I wanted right now to get 100 people and say, okay, I know with social media and stuff, it would be a lot easier here. But when you're talking about people in El Salvador and places like that where they don't have, you know, access to the internet. I mean, hell, they don't even have electric there. How in the hell do you get 5,000 to 7,000 people to join up into one group and then start marching?
3 words: misinformation and community organizers.
Yep, it has to be community organizers because
they're paid, folks, and they're paid by the left.
Because there's only, I mean, if you look at it, if I was going to go to, let's say, to Georgia from here, and I tell all my friends, let's go to Georgia, I might have 5 or 6 of them show up. Even though we live in the poorest county in Florida, in Putnam County, I wouldn't get enough people to like, let's walk up to Georgia or Alabama, or let's go to New York or Washington. There's jobs there, there's money there, and people just aren't going to do it. You know, they're going to stay there. But who in the hell is financing and bringing that big of a group? I mean, when you look at the pictures on the news, it's miles of people. And then they got all these checkpoints. Somebody's financing this.
Absolutely. But, you know, it was all an attempt to make Trump look bad or sway the election against Trump. And it is what it is. And frankly, thank God we have a guy like Donald Trump that actually cares about borders. I mean, you go to Australia, you miss a plane, they're at your hotel room before you get back, okay? Countries need to know who's coming in, when they're coming in, and when they're leaving. Otherwise, we can have 9/11 all over again.
Yeah, I watched a girl on CNN the other night, and she was like, you know, they asked her a question, should there be a wall, should there be a borders? And she goes, well, can you imagine if all the other countries had that, what the world would be like? I'm like, where have you been, girl? I've been to these other countries. You try to go into West Germany or East Germany, you're getting shot, which is going to bring me up to my next question here. If you try to go from North Korea to South Korea, you're going to get shot. You know, from Istanbul, you try to get into any other country and you try to cross that line and you go anywhere below a checkpoint, you get blown up or you get shot.
Absolutely. Thailand and Cambodia and all these countries that have, you know, they're serious about their borders.
Yeah, so Trump's getting ready to send down 5,000 people. What do you think he's going to, how do you think he's going to stop them? How do you think the military is going to stop him?
He's got a brilliant Secretary of Defense, Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis. And, you know, you got to trust them to do the right thing. I personally would like to see them not be able to get into the country, because if they can't get in, then they can't file their asylum claims or whatever. You know, and we're all for legal immigration, but we're not for illegal immigration. Now, the Democrats apparently are for illegal immigration, and they're against legal immigration. Now, they've got it all backwards, okay? But these are the same people that have Spartacus and a white woman saying she's an Indian. Some people say idiot, but some people, you know, I mean, you know, they're up is down and down is up with the Democrats. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a freaking mess. We're extending the show by 15 minutes, by the way, if you can hang in there.
Oh, great. I'll try to hang in there. You know what I'm really looking forward to is election night, you know, and I'm just praying and I'm hoping that the country is smart enough to vote Republican tickets this time, because we can't, you know, we'd love to be able to keep the House of Representatives so we don't have chaos in the House. Anytime the Democrats get in, it's chaos. Until the Republicans took control of the Senate, we never had a legitimate budget process. I mean, these guys, they were just unbelievable. And then I saw that crook from Missouri, what's her name, McCaskill? She's like, we don't have many votes. That's correct. Schumer did everything he could to protect those guys. He didn't want anything to come to a vote because it was all liberal administrative fiat. That was the only way they could govern, because the policy ideas are not only bad, they're not right. They're not good for the country, but yet they want to jam them down our throats. That's why we need a Republican House, and then that will cool their jets. But the best part about it is if everybody goes out and votes for the Republican ticket, or just enough people to vote where we can save the House and then pick up some seats in the Senate, it'll be the greatest thing to watch these people, the exploding heads on the left-wing media. I just, it was priceless seeing the results on CNN and the left-wing media and the mainstream media when Trump won, and as they're counting the votes, and it's just so good. It's just so great to see it,
Well,
because these guys think they're smarter than everybody else. They think it's the liberal way or no way, and they want to be uncivil. It's terrible. We have our own problem with our own crackpots. Every party's got them. But we do need more civility, but we also need to be able to call a spade a spade. I mean, what is going on? What is real is real, okay? 2 + 2 is 4. Good is good, evil is evil. But, under the Democratic Party way, they're so worried about political correctness that the truth gets lost. And that's what's concerning, and that's why a lot of Americans are going Blexit, or they're leaving the Democratic Party. I'd like to see a third party come up myself that could maybe be a swing party, but the Democratic Party appears to be dying to me. And when some of their special interest supporters wake up and realize they've been played, that's going to be it for the Democratic Party. You might have some New York and California and maybe Chicago. But they're on their deathbed, I think. The Democrats are really hurting. Their attitude is all they can do is shout you down. And if they get power, they're going to jam it down our throats. They're about make you do something. They don't want to give you a choice. They want to make you do it. They want to take your stuff. If the Democrats had their way, the government could take your property and not even pay you. They'd get rid of the Fifth Amendment. They get rid of the protections property owners have against their own property being confiscated by the government. I mean, these guys are all about big government, and that's why I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm concerned anytime I see somebody act like they're a conservative Democrat. So,
yeah, they were talking about
are there any conservative Democrats? Is there one left?
I don't know. Now today they were talking about doing away with the 14th Amendment. Okay. Let's kick it back. Let's kick it back to Florida.
That's never going to happen. Now we got a good Supreme Court, and 14th Amendment gives people that live in individual states the rights and protections that were afforded under the Constitution. It's a Bill of Rights. It goes everywhere. Due process is what it's all about. They want to get rid of due process. Well, we saw an example of that in the Kavanaugh hearings.
Yep.
As you know.
Yeah, and you're an attorney. You see that stuff happen all the time. People's rights being taken away. And
let me just say this. It's not a perfect system. We get overzealous prosecutors. We get some prosecutors that fall in love with their theories of the case. And even if they're wrong, they want to ride it out. They'll ride it out. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is the best system in the world, and you got a shot here in America if you get in trouble. Okay, other places they just take you out and assume or imply guilt. Here in America, you're presumed innocent until found guilty, and that's the way it should be.
Right. Now let's take it back from the national spotlight. Let's move on to Florida. We got Gillum running against DeSantis. Now, if Gillum gets in office, a lot of people don't know his program. He's talking about a 40% tax hike on businesses. That's going to destroy the economy in Florida.
If you're going to give all the teachers a big raise, you got to get the money from somewhere. My problem with giving teachers raises is, hey, I don't like giving anybody a raise that's performing mediocre. There's so much mediocrity in our schools. There's a lot of teachers that are on Valium or on Prozac, and there's a lot of mediocrity in a lot of organizations. And I'm not a fan of rewarding mediocrity. with pay raises. Now, the teachers that do a great job, they should get raises. I mean, I understand that, but just to say that everybody, we need to fund more, throw more money at education. We throw a lot of money at education, and the dirty little secret is there's been so much money pumped into security, not even educating the kids, just having police officers around. When I went to high school, we didn't have a police officer living at the school, but now they do. I mean, I don't know if it just says that our society's gotten so rotten that you got to have a police officer living at every high school.
When I used to go to school,
putting a lot of money in security right now, and it comes out, unfortunately, I think, in the educational experience. Our kids need to be safe. And yeah, we got to pay for it. I'd rather our kids be safer than the person that goes to the bank. You go to a bank, typically there's a armed guard somewhere. So, we got to protect our kids, but at the same time, we got to educate the kids. And, not every teacher is brilliant, and there's a lot of people that are in the teaching game because, well, they can't find any other jobs. I'd like them, I think the teachers should all take the GED. Anybody that wants to teach should at least take the GED. If you can't pass the GED, and I think principals should take it too, because I've seen some principals that can barely write a sentence, okay? I mean, that bothers me. When you got uneducated people in charge of educating people, that's a concern. Now, that being said, there's a lot of bright people in education, okay? And there's a lot of sharp people in education. But unfortunately, there's a lot of the so sharp as well. And depending on what your zip code is and where your school is, your kids may be in a school that has a lot of average teachers just waiting on a paycheck, just, social promotion type thing. I want my kid to learn. And unfortunately, they in Jacksonville, at least, they took libraries out of the high schools. They've taken books, basic reading books away from elementary school kids. So they're deficient in reading, they're deficient in math, yet they're going to be promoted up, and they're pretty good on the computer, and they're creating a whole Twitter world out there. And I am afraid for our future. I hope that it gets better. That's all I can say. Our kids need to be educated. We can't keep hiding the 8 ball, misrepresenting history. I mean, these libs want to rewrite history, for crying out loud. So we got to be careful with all of that. I mean, history is great. You learn from your mistakes. Those that don't learn history, they're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. So we have to be careful.
Well, with Florida being a 50-50 state here, 50% Republicans, 50% Democrats, with
close that way, I know.
With O'Gillum coming in, what do you think about his 40% tax hike on businesses?
I think that would be not good. Not good for Florida. Not good for anything. And then this guy is, he's a Soros wannabe. He's one of Soros's boys. If you want to have George Soros running the state of Florida, I can think of no better candidate than Gilliam.
Yeah, and what about when he's these guys are standing up on stage with Louis Farrakhan? I mean, there was Obama had a picture that the media
they hid for years. I know they didn't want it to come out.
Yeah, and then after he gets out of office, they bring up this picture of him. They've also got, you've had some of the Democratic Party up there. Even at a funeral here last year, you had Clinton standing up there. You had Jesse Jackson. You had Al Sharpton, and then you had Soros up there. And he's backing. Yeah, and then what he was saying about the Jews the other day, calling them termites.
Unbelievable. But it is what it is. So, that's the environment we live in. And a lot of it's been fostered by, unfortunately, the fake media, if you ask me. But it's a whole other story, as we all know.
We had somebody wrote in, says, I think all lawyers should take a polygraph and have a cap amount that they could charge for services. I mean, come on, Travis.
I like that idea.
They said there's many teachers pulling funds from their own pockets just to provide a better education for our children. So, hell yes, they deserve a raise.
I agree with that. And that's unfortunate, and that's true. And then, you know what? My kid goes to a public school, yet every year I'm supposed to spend $300 for school supplies so they can be redistributed, apparently, because I'm bringing in they have a laundry list. I mean, it's a big list, but, the whole back to school sales. And most of that stuff is stuff that the schools used to provide.
Exactly.
And, that teacher that wrote in, she's got a legitimate point. And the point is, why aren't the schools funding those kind of supplies that the kids need? Because they're all about packing salaries into their, in Duval County, there's a whole, and they call it administration, okay? So they're taking care of a lot of people. Most of the budget is eaten up in salaries, and it's so much in benefits, and the real money in teaching is after you retire, frankly. If you can make it to retirement, you're set for life. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, the teachers that I know in Putnam County, I haven't met one yet that I don't think deserves a raise. And
I agree. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they all, they all don't deserve raises. I'm saying that some do, and hey, but we can't just reward mediocrity, folks. And there's a lot of mediocrity out there, and that's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah,
and there should be some sort of way, benchmarks, just benchmarks.
All across the state. And my son just came to me here recently, and he goes, "Dad, I need to get money for parking at school." And no, I'm sorry. He didn't say I need to get money. He said they're trying to charge me for parking at school, and he goes, "I'm not going to pay it." And I said, "Well, if the Jeep gets towed," he goes, he said, I asked them what was the reason why, and they said, "Well, first in years past they've told me it's to help improve the parking lots and stuff. You can go to the high school my son goes to, and there's potholes that will mess a vehicle up. Now they're coming back and saying, well, the money is because now it's a law by the state, so that if a shooter is at the school, we'll know who the shooter is because, by the stickers on the car." And my son's like, "This is crazy, Dad," because they're sitting there saying, we need to do this so that they'll know who the shooter is. Yeah, he wants to know where the money's going to. And then he asked me, he goes, "Well, it wasn't the Florida lottery, and these lotteries on the different states supposed to provide."
They're supposed to be doing stuff. I don't know where that money goes either. It's like a big money pit. It's like a hole, and we're just throwing money in it and money. And I'm saying, well, look, you took the books out of the schools. You took God out of the schools. You took discipline. You took civics out of the schools. What exactly are you teaching my kid? Because I don't think you're teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic like you should. You're not teaching them how to sign their name. Heck, how are they going to sign their check? You want them to print it? I mean, you don't even teach cursive anymore. And the people that are designing these programs, their kids are going to private schools, and that's a dirty little secret in Jacksonville. The best education at Bowles, at Episcopal, at Providence, at a handful of private schools that is out of the reach of most people, unfortunately.
Well, look who designed most of our education for the state of Florida. Ted Kennedy was a drunk senator. Hell, he'd fall off his bench half the time he was sitting there, But he came up with, a lot of the school system stuff and how it was supposed to be done. And it was just a total, same with Common Core.
Well, Jeb Bush didn't help anything. The whole Common Core thing was just more stupidity, if you ask me.
Yep. And then when Obama came in and they changed the school lunches, they were throwing out more food, and this is fact, they were throwing out more food than they ever have in history because the kids just wasn't eating. Who wants a rice cake?
Right. Well, not only that, look, there's nothing wrong with a milkshake, for crying out loud. We used to have milkshakes when I was at Landon Junior High, and I was the highlight of the day. You got lunch, nice chocolate shake to go with whatever sandwich you had, But again, what the garbage they're feeding our children in schools, that ought to be criminal. I mean, there's some really lousy food going into our kids' school lunches, but that's the government lunch. It's you're better off packing your kids' lunch.
Yeah, they said, it's going to cut down on Michelle Obama. It's going to cut down on obesity and stuff. And in fact, the kids have gotten fatter, because they're not eating there anymore.
I agree. And of course, but you got all foods that are now grown with whatever the seed thing. They got all that control with the seeds and Monsanto and I don't know why farmers can't keep the seeds from year to year, but they somehow Monsanto is involved in farming now. You can't keep your old seeds from last year that you had a great crop with. You can't plant them the next year or you violate some law. It doesn't make any sense to me. We got too much government, folks.
I don't know. Hopefully the lady we had on is Linda Lou Osborne. I have checked out her policies and stuff, and the guy she's running against, I hope she just wipes the map with him.
Not be any good either. Okay, I mean you're gonna have to do that. And I hope that I hope that she's not some another one of these libs that want to go ahead and throw a bunch of money at the problem without any accountability. You can't just throw money and think at some problem and say that's going to solve it. It's how you spend it that counts.
No, she's got some.
It's how you spend it.
She's actually she has some pretty good fundraising things. It's not all about.
Good ideas. We need some good ideas in education. I don't care what party they come from.
Yeah, I'm hoping she gets in office.
In Duval County, we have every liberal idea in education in play right now, and our school system is terrible. Okay, just to let you know.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about Duval. I haven't been up there and experienced it, but
I would venture that Plaque has probably got a better school system than Duval County, if you ask me. But I don't know. I mean, I'm very disappointed so far in what I've seen.
Well,
I used to watch the school board meetings way back 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago, when I was single for comedy. It was just, I mean, they used to televise. I mean, it was unbelievable how they wouldn't do anything, other than bicker amongst themselves. And they were worried about, we can't teach character because, our character, because they would get into this word splitting where it would go, well, our character or that culture, that's cultural appropriation. Or you can't teach character because good character for one person could not be good character to another person. The problem is there's no absolutes, there's no right or wrong with liberalism. And unfortunately, liberalism has infected our education system. And that's probably one of the reasons that it's not doing as well as it should.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Rick Sarncy, he's our school board, head of the school board here. And this guy, since he's came in, I'm glad we got him and not Duval, although I know the school system sucks up there.
I'm happy you got somebody good. The jury's still out on the new superintendent. Frankly, we've been so bad at picking good superintendents. The last good superintendent I think that they had in Duval County was Herb Sang. I think you got to go back to the 70s.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Stepping in crap ever since then.
Yeah.
One bad superintendent after another. We're going to solve problems that really aren't problems. We're going to go into a new direction, and now we're going to take all the books away from our kids and try to have everything done on the internet. The problem with the internet is it's all can be manipulated.
Yeah.
So
well, the one good thing I like, I only go by what I see, and with our school superintendent here, Rick Sarncy, I have watched it. Even though a lot of people don't like him, they didn't see the mess that he had to clean up from Phyllis Criswell, our last superintendent. It was a freaking mess. But he's come in and he's actually been doing a kick butt job on it.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's good for you guys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My son's even happy with it.
It's important. They're the future. The next generations are important, very important.
Well, they need to go back to the old school. Look at our generations, Greg. I mean, we're pretty much the same age. We had infrastructure. We had kids. I mean, our generation and generations before us put man on the moon with their math. They put. They built automobiles, railways.
We were able to compromise. We had values, better values. I mean, hey, Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they didn't agree on hardly anything, but yet they could come together and agree on a budget and get stuff done in the best interest of the country. I mean, we need to get back more towards that. But the problem is the left has moved, the Dems have moved so far left. Nobody on the Republican side that I could think of wants to jump off the socialist cliff that they want us to go down.
Yeah, I know. I don't. I'm scared to death at what could happen. I mean, when you're talking about getting Dianne Feinstein and these other people, over our money as treasurer. Holy crap!
Maxine Waters
Or
running
Maxine
the,
Waters. Maxine
some,
Waters, who I'm thinking about.
some committee.
Yeah.
You know, that's a real piece of work right there.
Oh yeah, and she said,
Well,
you know,
in any event, the good news is maybe if they did take over the Senate, then we could all be Indians and have some sort of Indian legislation passed where if you're less than 1% Indian, you can actually get special treatment at Harvard.
I'm waiting for her to come out with her new cookbook when they find out she's Chinese with Kung Pao chicken.
She may have more of that in her than Indian. Who knows? Hey, but another thing, look at Harvard and the Ivy League schools. They've fallen off the deep end. I mean, Penn's probably still a good school, but I'm just telling you, I'm so concerned.
Roll Tide.
They're brainwashing. These schools aren't educating; they're indoctrinating.
Yeah,
And that's the problem.
I think all our young kids should go to University of Alabama, bar none. Give them the big A hat.
I just want I want my kids to be exposed to both the left and the right. Okay.
Exactly.
To make your own decisions. I mean, I was more as a younger person, obviously, than I am in my 50s. Okay. Because once you have family and you understand that, you got to work for a living and gee, the government can take a lot of money. It's a little different, and I think it's a natural evolution. I mean, we're going to get a little more conservative as we get older. We get a little more smarter. We get a little more intelligent. But now we've got the media working hand in hand with the Democratic Party, trying to turn the country into some socialist mess.
Yeah. Well, we got to get out of here, Greg. The next Tuesday, you're going to be back on because we can give the election results.
Night? Is that election night?
That is election night, buddy.
Okay. That should be a fun night. We won't know much, but I look forward to seeing you. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed. In 2 weeks, we'll know for sure what we got, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, we'll see you back here.
The good news is we got Donald Trump in the White House kicking butt.
Yep, I agree with you on that. All right. Well, we'll see you next Tuesday night, Greg. Don't forget, you already voted, didn't you?
You got it right. Straight Republican ticket, baby.
Oh. All right, Greg. We'll see you next Tuesday night. We'll find out who's going to win or lose. All right. You have a good evening, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. That was Greg Williams out of Jacksonville. He's an attorney. You guys need a good attorney. His stuff is goes on at the end of the program. You guys hang around while the music's playing, and you'll see some of our supporters and advertisers and stuff. And Greg's is on there. If you guys need a good attorney to represent you, he does everything but murder cases. So before I get out of here, next Tuesday night, it's real important that you guys go out and vote. Get involved. Don't just sit at home. Vote for what you feel to be right. Now, like I say, I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm independent. I'm an American citizen. I vote by the candidate, and what I believe that candidate is going to do. I don't vote party. But in this case, I've got to agree with Greg on a lot of the stuff. And Greg and I have our differences. But the one thing that I see is you guys need to get off your butts, go vote, and vote for what you feel. Vote for the candidate, not for the party. And for whatever you do. Good Lord, if Gillen gets in, we are screwed. If you own a business or thinking about owning one, you are going to be pimped big time. So, anyways, I got to get out of here. You guys can check us out on iitwradio.com. You can check us out on Facebook at IITW Radio. I say it real slow, IITW Radio. And you can check us out on YouTube. Remember, hit the little bell up there for notifications. Make sure you subscribe to it. We're going to be doing some giveaways next week. And after the election, I think we're going to give away some stuff for coming up for Thanksgiving. The kids will be out and about tomorrow night. Please make sure that you watch out for the babies running around. And if you got candy, and then check with your local pedophile list. Make sure you don't go up to some pedophiles list. If you have smaller kids, hang out with them. Make sure that they go to good houses and check their candy. And then watch out for the babies on the street. There's little kids that'll pop out. They're in costume. Some of them are dressed in solid black like the Grim Reaper, and you can't see them. Be sure to watch out for these babies. I mean, they're our kids. They're our future, and we love them to death. I got to give my shout-outs real quick. Mama B, saw her today. She's going to be on the show, I think, next week sometime. Is that right?
Yes.
And let's see, Annette, Audrey, Mr. Steve, who we got to give out? Gary and Tiffany. And I can't forget my partner, Tammy. Tammy's starting her own thing here pretty soon, but we're going to have to get out of here. You guys are going to have to check out the Zen Lemon Tree?
A Zen Lemon Tree.
A Zen Lemon Tree.
AZEN Lemon Tree on Facebook.
Yeah, and check her out and check out her new show that's going to be starting up here pretty soon. And let's see, I think that's about it. I got the
Mama
voting
B
covered.
sent over a couple things for us to end their show with tonight. I mean, it's politics. There ain't nothing like ending the show.
Okay, well, Mama B cooked us some.
Yeah, some stew.
Cook
I'm
some
getting ready to
stew
go
up.
eat some.
Yeah, I can't wait to tell you. That stuff was killing me on the way to the studio. Had to smell that.
Thank you, Mama B.
Yeah, thank you, Mama B. And to all the people that the readers and the listeners of the Putman Way and IITW Radio, thank you guys so much for supporting us and getting behind us and getting behind the system and trying to make things right. And there was somebody else. Oh, my niece, Rosie. I have to give a shout out to her. And,
Also,
and the little kid, Noah.
Noah.
We had the wrestling match. We're going to bring that up when tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night we're going to have some of the wrestling match that was on here. And there was a little kid that I met there, Noah, kick butt little kid. He just had gotten out of the hospital, came straight to the wrestling match, and we got him to sit down front and stuff. We'll put his pictures and stuff up tomorrow night.
Got a picture with the tag team champs.
With what?
He got a picture with the tag team champs.
Oh, yeah, we got a picture of him with the tag team champs. And those guys, those wrestlers were great. Thanks, Chris, for coming in. He's always doing a great job. There he is. There's Mr. Hand. Or no, wait, what were we calling you? Mr. Thumb. And then for Marie, for doing this stuff, for Tammy and Cameron, what you guys are doing over there, and the rest of the guys and gals that help us do this, remember to support your local firefighters, your first responders, your sheriff's department, your police department. We have some of the best in this county. Our sheriff's department, our police departments, our volunteer firefighters. Make sure you get out and support those. Most importantly, support the American flag and our veterans. Don't kneel when you can stand. If you'll go down on the knee for anything, I guess what happens when you're on your knees. It's not good. Stand up for the flag. Stand up for your country. Don't let people just come in and invade our country. Stand up. Take care of our children first, our homeless veterans. And God love you guys, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 7:30 sharp.
And don't forget to be here on Friday to support the Head Start. Find out what's going on with the Pomona Park Head Start. So
Yeah,
if
who
you
are
guys
we
are watching that at 7:30 on Friday night.
Yeah, check out the music at the end of the show, too. We have some 4,000 artists that are on IITW Radio. And who do we have closing it out tonight, Chris?
Austin Neal.
Austin Neal with Rain, right?
Yep.
Great song. We played it last night. Austin is kick butt. We're going to play this one video, and then we're out.
This is a fun way to end politics. Good night.
Yeah, I don't know what this is about.
Oh, this
I'm
is for
totally
Mama
getting
B.
set up on
This is too
this.
much fun. This is politics. This is the way to kick the night for politics, y'all.
Okay.
Slow down, sir. Slow down, sir. Henry, relax. You know what? They keep speeding down this block. I'm not going to have Henry, fire.
Oh,
Told y'all to slow down.
crap.
Slow down.
Nothing like
Stop
politics.
speeding down this block, man. There's kids
bull
on this
hit the
block, man.
horse.
Slow down.
Back that up again. I want to see that one more time.
I just had to give something to end the show with a smile.
Holy cow.
Slow down, sir.
I've heard of getting bitch
Slow down,
slapped,
sir.
but he got
Henry,
bull
relax.
crapped.
You know what? They keep speeding down this block.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not
bull,
gonna
he's eyeballing him
Like
up.
eyeball him.
Boom.
Told y'all to slow down.
Told y'all to
Slow
slow
down.
down.
Told y'all to slow
Speeding
down.
down this block, man. There's kids on this
Bull
block.
doesn't
Man.
walk.
Slow down.
Tomorrow night, if you're speeding down the road, I hope that happens to you when these kids and these babies are out trick-or-treating. Good God almighty, I got to get out of here. We're going to have Cletus in here on Friday night, too, I think.
All right.
So check out our advertisers and stuff, and we're going to roll this Austin Neal song, Rain. Listen to the words of it. It's a great song. You guys have a good night. We love you, and
night,
we'll see you
y'all.
back
Happy
here tomorrow
Halloween.
evening.
Looking back on the rainy day spent, spinning all day under your covers. Oh, those days have come and went.
For all the times that you and me had, it didn't matter good or bad. Now I wish I can get them back. Come on, rain, rain, bring back those memories. Rain, rain, just the one for you and me. When I see those clouds moving, you know what I'll be thinking. Come on, rain. Come on, rain. The night we met, it was raining outside. You were walking down the beach all by yourself. I said, let's go in where it's dry. It was the sweetest thing that I've ever felt. That night you left me wanting more. I found what I was looking for. I wanna see you running through my door. Come on, rain, rain, bring back those memories. Rain, rain, just the one for you and me. When I see those clouds moving, you know what I'll be thinking. Come on, rain. Come on, rain. The night you left, I thought it was the end. You were the best thing for me. You were my sweetest sin. I wanna see you coming back in the clouds rolling in. Come on, rain, rain, bring back those memories. Rain, rain, just the one for you